So let's move to the landscape of ABA. So just to give a little bit of context here and why I created this CU, why I think this topic is important. Historically, ABA impact has lived within autism services, school support, behavior plans in clinical settings, supervision and compliance responsibilities, which means that a lot of BCBAs have really focused on one primary population. I don't say that with any judgment. It's not right or wrong, but that does mean that we're dependent on some insurance and institutional systems that we don't have a ton of control over, and frankly, are kind of deteriorating as we speak. And so we're working inside of these rigid funding structures, and our jobs are not as flexible as we would like them to be. The funding and rates are not as generous as we would like them to be. And frankly, it's not as predictable or consistent anymore to rely on these funding services. And so right now, most BCBAs serve only one diagnostic category, one service model, one caseload at a time. And it is incredibly impactful within that sphere. And the goal and what we're kind of facing today is moving kind of away from this, because right now we have more stringent funding requirements, more denials and restrictions, more administrative roadblocks, more responsibilities, and shrinking resources. If you are not experiencing that, you could throw like something in the chat. People will want to know where you work and what your job is, because I'm pretty sure that we're all experiencing this right now. And what we're trying to move away from is that rigidity and those kind of boundaries that have been set within our field. And these shifts, the reality is that we're going to see this get worse. And I hate to be like the bearer of bad news, but caseload expectations are continuing to rise. If you haven't already been audited or needed to redo a treatment plan or change something that you were doing that was in the best interest of the client because of a funder or oversight recommendations or documentation, then you're lucky, because it's happening pretty much everywhere. The decisions right now are influenced by funding limitations instead of our clinical logic, which means that we're going to start seeing our burnout risk grow. People are going to start experiencing that lack of autonomy, that inability to do what they know is right for the client, and to really just be creative and innovative outside of what is being approved or stamped by a person at a funding entity. And so I want to flip it, right? Because that was pretty negative. But the opportunity here is that courses let you expand that. They let you extend beyond what you can teach, what you're teaching, who you're teaching, and how you do it, and also how much you get paid to do it. And so you can teach parents, teachers, other professionals, organizations, and really entire communities. This is a community where I get to teach something that I really enjoy. And it's very replicable for whatever your interest is too. So courses allow you to focus on topics that you deeply care about, stop repeating the same explanations endlessly, right? You're not just copy and pasting the same thing over and over. You can build resources once that keep serving lots of different people, whether they have a diagnosis, whether the funding is approved or not. And you can create that income that isn't dependent on those direct work hours. Because there's only so many of those. And so right now you're sort of capped at that amount. So the goal here is to regain control of your time, expertise, and purpose, and use courses to expand your impact, your audience, your professional freedom, while still honoring the science. And that is primarily what we're going to talk about today, is how to do this with integrity. So as these systems tighten, one of the things that is most clear right now is that our expertise needs more pathways than one funding system, one traditional approach, one type of caseload or case that we can serve. And courses provides one of those pathways. It allows us to share behavior science outside of these restrictive service models. It lets us reach people who wouldn't otherwise qualify for access to traditional services, right? Personally, as a parent, I would benefit from ABA for my kids, even though they wouldn't necessarily qualify today for those services. And so how can we enact behavior change and extend the boundaries of this science elsewhere? And then creating resources that live beyond session-based work. again, your kind of legacy, yes, it expands within your caseload, but what if you were training the trainer, right? What if you were teaching other BCBAs something really powerful and impactful? Now it impacts all of their caseloads too. And so our goal is to create some of this content and resource that disseminates far beyond what we can directly do ourselves. So courses are helpful because they transform your expertise into these structured learning experiences. And in order to do that, you have to design frameworks, systems, and techniques so that your teaching actually enacts change. And so it reaches and applies to other professionals, caregivers, or organizations at scale. But once you do create the course, you can create it once and sell it forever. And you can obviously update the course and make refinements and make sure that it still is working. But CEUs, workshops, online programs, the impact there is endless. There's thousands of people that have now watched a training I've created, right? And so now I feel like even if they took one small step or took one small action, they've done that in multiples versus what I could do myself. And so that impact extends well beyond what you can do. So some common misconceptions, just to kind of get them out of the way before I jump into how to actually start thinking about a course structure and a framework isn't this basically therapy online, and doesn't that cross lines? And again, I want to make it super clear here that courses teach concepts, frameworks, and strategies, and they're not designed to be individualized treatment. So that nervousness of, will I need to support this person beyond the course, or will this person have questions or issues that I need to address beyond the course? That is the distinction between a course that is educational and a course that's kind of tipping over into treatment. And our goal is to not replicate treatment inside of our course, right? So we want to consider broader audiences that have the same problem that we already solve, that don't actually need treatment, if that makes sense. So what we're really worried about here is liability, blurred boundaries, like accidentally treating people. And ultimately what we want to do instead is make sure that our course is just never crossing that line. And I'll talk about what that looks like. So courses are education and dissemination, not treatment. Another misconception is courses don't really work. People won't apply what they learn. And that is an instructor error, not a user error. So courses fail when you dump a lot of information and concepts and you're trying to shove all of your amazing behavior analytic knowledge into a course. Courses succeed when they're designed around application, when that is the primary objective of your course. Each module serves as a step toward guided implementation. So if they're not there yet, how do you guide them to get there? That is exactly what your course should address. I saw this concern come up, right? I don't have anything unique enough to turn into a course. I need a new idea, a creative idea, right? But if you repeat the same explanations, strategies, or diagrams across clients, staff, or caregivers, then you already have this curriculum, a framework, a system, a method that you're using. You just maybe haven't named it yet, right? And that repetition, the thing that you're doing when you're thinking about a program, or you're thinking about how you're going to train new BCBAs or your RBTs, that is a signal of transferable knowledge. And you're so close to it sometimes, so close to your expertise that you can't see its value. And so I'd start recognizing, well, where am I repeating the same kind of thought process or an approach or a strategy? And that now becomes a perfect topic for your course. And it is unique because it's from your experience and it's blended with your style and the way that you operate. Now, your frameworks, these things that you design, now once you recognize what you continuously repeat, right, those patterns, they become your intellectual property. And your goal is to transfer that into a framework. Frameworks are shaped by the populations you serve, how you explain concepts uniquely, right, how you structure learning. They don't need original research, right? So you don't have to create a CEU that is brand new, that nobody's ever heard the topic of before, but you do have a different approach. You explain things differently. Maybe you break it down more easily. Maybe you provide some actionable guidance. And so what people actually want and need from a course isn't a new topic every single time. It's that clear translation and guidance. And if you can provide that, then it doesn't matter if everyone is also doing the same thing. You're going to do it better, and you're going to do it your own unique way. And so I know that people hear that a lot, but truly, if you have a framework that you can articulate and note structurally, then you are going to be successful here.